Hey, this is Tim Gaspar, candidate for LA City Council for CD3. That includes the communities of Woodland Hills, Tarzana, Canoga Park, Winnetka, and Reseda. So I have 4 priorities if I'm elected to City Council, and one of them is addressing the homelessness crisis. So we've all seen it here in LA, been walking around, seen the encampments, seen folks that are sleeping on the street. It's a crisis that's been out of control for a number of years. What I want to talk about today is why the homeless crisis is so bad in LA in particular. And the reason is when you control for all the other things, when you control for mental health, when you control for drug addiction, by and large, the biggest factor that makes a difference is the affordability of housing. And so we all feel that very, very difficult to be able to buy a home if it's your first time home for folks that are, have just moved to LA or maybe young people growing up in LA. And the rental prices here are much, much higher than the rest of the country. As an example, I have a stat for the city of Austin, Texas, where a 1-bedroom apartment is $1,449 compared to LA, where it's $2,123. And so why is there such a big difference? Well, I'll tell you one of the reasons. In the city of Austin, they're building 7.5 times more apartment housing than the city of LA per capita, and significantly more single-family housing as well. And so when you have less of a supply like in LA, that drives up the cost for all of us. And so there's a number of reasons why that is. One of the reasons is when you build in LA, it costs more to build here, and a big part of that is it just takes longer. Everything, when it comes to things that are construction related in LA, takes a really long time. There's lots of folks that you have to go to, lots of different departments within LA that you need to go to for permits. You need to get your hookups from LA DWP. And these things in LA, they're just not fast. So that's one of the issues. But the bigger issue is when you're building housing or you're building an apartment building, those are things that are very capital intensive. So you need a lot of money to be able to do that. And for the really large projects, like an apartment building that has a couple hundred units, or the things that really move the needle, that money is not typically coming from banks. Usually that money is coming from large state pensions or insurance companies, the entities that put lots and lots of money into a project because they want to park that money somewhere for a return. And when these entities are looking for somewhere to invest, when they look on a map and they see the city of LA in particular, they redline the city of LA. And so you might have heard the term of redlining before. It's when a group of institutions takes a look at a particular area and says, we're not going to lend there. And that's exactly what's happening right now with Los Angeles. And I have heard this from a number of developers, a number of different folks that are in the construction business, a business for anything residential. And it's because in LA, we're starting to adopt a lot of socialist principles. And so when you take a look at the current city council in LA, you have 4 people that are what's called DSA. DSA stands for the Democratic Socialists of America. And so I'm a Democrat. I'm a proud Democrat. But being a Democrat is different than being a socialist. And so when we have things in LA like, post-COVID, we had close to 5 years where folks didn't have to pay rent and couldn't be evicted. But we had landlords, whether they be large ones or mom and pop, that still had to pay their expenses like their mortgage, their insurance, their commercial property taxes. And that type of situation, those types of rules, really scares away new developers from coming to the city. They view it as a place that is unstable, the rules might change tomorrow, and is one where it's difficult for them to be able to make a return. I know that this is something that as folks that are just looking for a place to live, we really shouldn't have to worry about this stuff, nor do we necessarily care that much. But this is something that is absolutely impacting everyone, and we need to pay attention to it. We need to be honest with ourselves in regard to what are the reasons that folks don't want to build here. And so I'm obviously a business person, but at the same time, I've rented apartments, I've rented houses. I know what it's like to pay a significant portion of your income to rent. And this is something that we have to change in LA to be successful. And so just want to share that with you. I'm going to do another video that talks about, we have this issue obviously with the homeless. What are we actually going to do to get people off the street? I'm going to talk about that in my next video. Thank you so much and have a great rest of the day.